3, 2. Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Libnacrin here with attorney Holly Waltman. Thanks so much for being here, Holly. I know you got a very busy schedule. So we brought you in because we want to get beyond the headlines, as we do here at the 1 o'clock hour on Atlanta News First Plus. And I want to share with our viewers one of the major headlines that we are following today. And this concerns the alleged killer of the nursing student who was killed on the UGA campus. So just wanted to share with everyone the newest headline here. Apologize, I'm just getting the graphics up. Attorneys for this accused killer have filed a motion demanding a jury trial. This is according to court documents, demanding a jury trial. Jose Antonio Ibarra is the man who is accused in this murder of Lake and Riley, 26 years old. He faces charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another, all in connection to the killing of 22-year-old Lake and Riley. His arrest warrants accuse him of, quote, disfiguring Riley's skull by hitting her with an unidentified object. He also allegedly dragged her body to a secluded area to hide the death, according to warrants for his arrest. Ibarra's filing also demands access to whatever evidence might be presented in the trial, and the filing also demands, quote, details of any agreements the state has made for favorable treatment of any person associated with the case. Now, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says that Ibarra illegally entered the U.S. Riley's death, of course, has become a rallying point for Republicans seeking tighter border security. And the House recently did pass the Lake and Riley Act, which would require federal authorities to detain undocumented immigrants charged with theft here in the U.S. Okay, so Holly, I know you do criminal defense. I'm not sure if you do any immigration, but with what we're hearing, these requests for the attorneys, what should we make of this?
Yeah, so certainly after indictment, Joy, the first round of motions, the initial pleadings that any good defense attorney would file would include the demand for discovery, meaning this puts the state on notice that they are to hand over any evidence that they're in possession of that they believe shows that this defendant committed these crimes, right? One of the other things that you can demand is a demand for a trial, and we see that here. I'm interested to see, and I need to research and go in a little bit deeper myself to see if this is actually a constitutional speedy demand for trial, or if this is just simply the aftermath of entering a not guilty plea on behalf of their client and demanding a jury trial as a result of it.
Gotcha, Holly. But other than that, it sounds like a lot of what you're seeing you do consider to be sort of standard in that there's a request just for discover any documents that would normally be turned over during the process of discovery. But apart from that, is there anything that really stood out to you, anything unusual?
Yeah, so while these are routine motions that defense attorneys file on behalf of their clients, one thing that I think is noteworthy of this case that is different than a case that may not have the headlines or the media coverage that this one does is the speed in which it's moving, right? If we compare something like this to what we've seen with Donald Trump or the RICO YSL case in Fulton County, the speed in which this individual was not only indicted but also arraigned and now is charging what looks to be towards a jury trial is remarkably faster than anything we're seeing in Fulton County or really anywhere else in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, what do we expect next? Because obviously, you know, many people say that this is an immigration issue. Many other people say it's not. It's an issue of crime. And what does it, to what extent does immigration get involved?
Yeah, so I've kind of deemed it, and local attorneys call it crimmigration, right? A lot of individuals who find themselves with immigration issues, those issues are stemming from a criminal allegation. So here in Georgia, as we all know, the state defines crimes as two different types of offenses, misdemeanors and felonies. Most other states have three different classifications of crimes, but to include traffic offenses. Georgia puts traffic offenses in the misdemeanor bucket. We here have felonies, so he definitely has crimmigration at its best, right? This is certainly going to, I see the criminal side of this going out and fleshing out first before any immigration issues come up for him.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate you breaking that down for us. Any other thoughts on that case before we move on?
Yeah, so right now we have to also remember we're in a pretrial posture with this case, meaning the defense attorneys aren't in receipt of any of the evidence. One of the things that I thought was noteworthy was the demand, basically, show us the deal. Is there any other witnesses that the state plans to bring that may have firsthand eyewitness to this crime, right? Anyone that has possibly got information about it. I think that once we have the defense in custody of the discovery in this case, I think we will see many, many more motions to come.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much, Holly. So I also want to talk a little bit about what's ahead this week. And, you and I were speaking here on Atlanta News First Plus and, on live television last week quite a bit about everything happening with the investigation into the former President Donald Trump and his allies being led by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. So just to catch everyone up, if they weren't aware, maybe they missed this, the judge came out with a decision early Friday morning that Ms. Willis could stay on the case if Mr. Wade removes himself or is removed, and ultimately he didn't wait to be removed. Mr. Wade turned in his resignation letter. Ms. Willis accepted that resignation letter, and Ms. Willis will continue on the case. What else do we expect this week, Holly?
Yeah, so I think the speed in which we got the resignation and the acceptance of the resignation kind of is a little telling, right? They didn't respond to the actual motion in that quick fashion, but I think this week we will see a little bit less excitement than we saw last week with the highly anticipated order from the judge coming down. I will say the 23-page order was very carefully drafted and I believe was in an attempt, because at the end of this, Joy, as we all know, if this case does go to a verdict, one side is not going to be happy. So the judge at this juncture, I think, is doing an excellent job of trying to protect the record in the event that this would end up in an appeal or have another judge from a higher court looking and reviewing what he actually decided on these pretrial motions.
Gotcha. In terms of how the prosecution is going to go forward, will it change anything?
Well, certainly. Ms. Willis is now in the market for a new lead prosecutor. I work in that office, or work with that office on cases often, and I know that there are countless attorneys that are very well qualified, very well versed in RICO, with extensive complex felony prosecution experience that are available for her to tap. So I think the next big thing that we'll probably see is if she brings someone up from her office to fill the space that Nathan Wade previously had, or if she will contract with someone outside of her office and bring in another special prosecutor.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting question. So I understand that they would have 10 days to file a request, essentially a request for an appeal, correct? Anyone, not only the former president's team, but any of the defendants in this case, correct?
Right. So remember, Michael Roman's counsel is the one that initially filed this this motion, right, for disqualification. Later, once some evidence was brought up and filed into the motion to give it sort of the backing that it needed, everyone else, or most all of the other co-defendants jumped in and joined in or took on the position of the motion as well. So what we will see now as we move forward is additional motions, right? And like you mentioned, any one of these defendants could appeal this decision. The state could appeal this decision. I don't believe the state's going to appeal the decision, and I think that's evident by how fast we saw the resignation and the acceptance of the resignation from the district attorney's office. But it is yet to be seen if any of the other co-defendants that joined in the Roman counsel's motion will actually file the appeal. But as we know, Joy, that would only delay this case, which is absolutely the opposite of what the state is trying to accomplish here.
Right. In terms of the delay, I mean, what kind of timeline are we looking at now? It's not realistic, is it, that this could actually go to trial before November, is it?
Joy, if this trial started today and we started jury selection or pretrial motions for a jury trial, I don't believe it would even be concluded by November. So the idea, and I said this last year when this first sort of came out, the idea that this case would be tried to a verdict before November, I think was always a pipe dream, but I don't believe it's realistic. And certainly as we get the evidence from the state's hands into the defense counsel's hands, I think that we will see a plethora of other motions filed on behalf of these defendants that will also further the delay.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Holly Waltman joining us with your analysis. Holly, if people are interested in maybe your legal help, how can they get in touch with you? What kind of cases are you interested in taking?
Yeah, so we represent individuals facing the government on complex felony offenses all the way down to traffic misdemeanors all over the state of Georgia. We are on all social media at thewaltmanfirm.com, as well as Instagram, Facebook, everything else. So you can check us out there and give us a call.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly Waltman, local trial attorney, joining us here live on Atlanta News First Plus. And we're going to keep following the latest on all these top stories. Just want to point you to our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. You can also sign up for alerts to get sent right to your phone, breaking news, weather alerts. All you have to do is download our free Atlanta News First mobile news app. Thanks for joining us.